separating the world. Remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood.
Incredible.
Moorish Cosa Nostra, industrious acts. I cracked the code of Da Vinci, these are actual facts. Angels and demons, Illuminati and Judas goats. Elite minds of our own who turn cutthroat. Espionage and betrayal, 30 pieces of silver. Merovingian bloodlines and Boulay House niggas. Who would've figured we'd be sleeping with the enemy? Let us rise and give honors to Noble Drew Ali. We used to say, for I am you, and you are me. Now the reaper's your brother's keeper, he's the devil's seed. Cloud chasing and deceive, he abandoned the creed. Desire was his vice, but envy his disease. A fistful of dollars led him to his demise. Front page, it was tragic, a bloody homicide. What profits man if he gains the world but loses his soul? Feel the wrath of Allah, he was struck sevenfold. Moorish ties, we span time 700 years. Principalities, world powers, diamond chandeliers. Sheiks and emirs, black turbans and scimitars. Allah's will, we prevail as one under God. Moorish ties, we span time 700 years. Principalities, world powers, diamond chandeliers. Sheiks and emirs, black turbans and scimitars. Allah's will, we prevail as one under God. The seat of power lacks dominion when sultans depart, but immortal virtues shall remain within the people's hearts. True successors are often overlooked and crucified. Sheikh Emilia did his best to exercise his fire. Opposition from all sides forced him on the ground. Exiled from his post, but loyal to his crown. He stood his ground, but no one man can defeat the mob. He transitioned in silent historic landmarks. We came as we are, and we are as we came. We came, saw, and we conquered. M.A.G shall remain. These are divine instructions. Let us unite the nations. Heavenly mandates, self-determination. Treaties, consortiums, covenants, holy and divine. Social duties and obligations, proclamation signed. Theocratic, supreme laws, organic design. Creative faith, deliver justice in due time.
You raise up cowards, you raise up imbeciles, you raise up good for nothings. If you cannot do what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you had better die. Can we do it? We can do it. Because any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Let me say that again. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Britain under William Pitt, Earl of Chatham did it. America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you had better die.
Peace, family. Before I start this special measure, I want to rise and give all praises to the great God Allah, our Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to my holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. I give honors to my Grand National Seal. I give honors to my Grand National Emblem. I give honors to my national flag, and honors to all of you who are a living manifestation and personification of everything that he brought to make us a nation. Peace and love. I want to say Yahuru to those out there who think along those lines. I want to say salute to all of you brothers. Salam alaikum to the Muslim brothers. Peace, peace to the gods and earths. You know, Rahubat to the Nuwabians. Shalom to the Hebrew Israelites, and so forth and so on. You know, all is one and all is well to the nations of people and folks, whatever it is that you all represent out there. I'm just trying to reach my people. And this is special drawing is dealing with an urgent matter because it's time that we expose these ones out here that claim to be teaching our people, uplifting our people, and guiding our people toward the right way. But upon investigation, we find that these ones are really agents and agent provocateurs, armchair revolutionaries, faking and fronting, like they are indeed on the front line. And, to remove all doubt and clear up the mystery, I'm speaking of an individual by the name of Seti. They refer to him as General Seti. I don't know what army he is a general of, what war, a battle that he has fought to become such, but that's neither here nor there. The madness must stop, and I'm here to put this one in check and expose this one for who he is. I've watched him for over a decade, and I cautioned him years ago in regards to speaking radical in regards to dealing with Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Him and a couple of more individuals I actually cautioned when they was doing this. And it just seemed like ones have taken to social media to find some way of gaining popularity by slandering the ancients. Now here is this one saying he is a grand master of the Comedian mystery system and so forth and so on. The order of Amun-Ra and all this type of foolery that he claimed he represent, but he doesn't honor the laws of M.A.G. And I am the Egyptian adept master of this era and time. I am the comedic hierophant of this era and time, and I don't say that to be boisterous. I say that because I earned that special title. Other than that, I come as a man of no reputation, but I am a defender of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I am a defender of everything that he brought and everything that he taught. And we're going to put you to test and task now, Mr. Seti, since you like to get out here in social media and rant disrespectfully. And I also want to inform the family what you are about to listen to is only for an educational purpose, and it's not to promote, the vile and disrespectful language that this one states, but we want to put on the record exactly what he said. He put it out there. So rather than going back and forth listening and then bringing my measure, I would give my measure in the process of this special drawing. But I want to give you a drawing on an earlier Seti, that many may not even know. He promoted as if he done something, but he didn't bang on this beast like he banged on his people. So I want you to hear this right here, and we'll go from there.
Good afternoon, Council. I appreciate you giving me the chance to speak. I'm a vendor from Detroit, and I'm also here to ask that the Council overrides the Mayor's veto.
You hear him shaking in his voice?
And I've been to
Oh, he's a traveling brother. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Wait.
A lot of major cities in the United States. New York, Philadelphia.
Wait a minute.
I've been to a lot of major cities in the United States. I'm a traveling brother.
You a who?
I'm a traveling brother.
Okay.
And I've been to a lot of major cities in the United States.
The only people I know use that language are Masons.
Philadelphia, Chicago,
But he trembling in his voice, though. You hear?
Now, if those cities
He's a traveling brother.
4 and 5 times as large as Detroit can get over whatever obstacles they can get over to get vendors out there, then Detroit can do the same thing. Right. Detroit is trying to be a world-class city, and they should be able to get over this. When you go to New York and people go to Harlem, one of the first things that they do is go to 125th Street, and everybody knows about the vendoring there. When Detroit is in an economic crunch that it is in, and there are there are not enough jobs out here, you should commend the citizens of Detroit for trying to do for self. If we don't do for self, what are we to do? That's the question. So this is our council, this is our city, and you should look out for us before anyone else. The mayor has a job. He can pay for
Look
whatever
out
he
for
needs
who?
to pay for. These vendors down
He
here
a
only
general,
make
right?
a little bit of money, and they should not be worrying about these crumbs. When these festivals come in, you see all of these trucks roll in with out-of-state plates.
That's right.
And they take all of our money and roll right on up out of the city of Detroit. Now, who is responsible for this? Because I know you can see those license plates just like we can see them. So, I mean, I want to know where the unseen hand is coming from. I will hope that the council would override this and really move Detroit towards a world-class city. Thank you very much.
Okay, you heard this cat, right? Now, you see how he spoke with a humble tone when he was sitting in front of Massa, when he was in the presence, you know, of those ones that he claimed that he is in opposition to. And if you notice, he wasn't banging on the beast like you hear him banging on all of his other people. He said also that he was a traveling brother. Now, this language is normally used by one that is a part and partial, you know, of the lodge. You know, and this is not to be radical and speak out against that special demonstration. We letting it be known as regards to the language that's being used there. And personally, I feel like he felt like that he was going to reach a certain ear if he stated that. You know, man, I am not a fool, and those who are part of that order know what's going on. I don't call myself a traveling brother, you know, and so forth and so on. You know, but I do move from the center to the outer bounds with this truth, and that's what we getting ready to do. So now you heard the humble Seti, you know, in the presence of Massa. But now we are getting ready to give you insight into this beast, and we're going to set the record straight in the process, you know. And I hope that he reach out to me for dialogue, or what he like to call debate, you know, because I can already see that he has a shallow stream from whence he draw those pebbles that he like to toss as wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You know, if you honor Ma'at, brother, you know, if you ever hear this, if you honor the Ma'atic law, then you know you out of law. You know, according to the laws of Ma'at, that you don't speak out against the ancestors. You know that you don't curse your ancestors. You know that you don't speak falsely, you know, against their character. You see? So I see you have a real problem when it comes to dealing with Noble Drew Ali and what he brought. That's all good and well. You have a right to have your opinion. But I'm about to let the people know what's really going on, because anybody can spew a bunch of information and put a bunch of pictures up on the internet and make it look like something to somebody that don't know no better. But yeah, it's that time. So let us proceed. And this is coming from Set. Oh, did I say Set? Oh, he say Seti. And you know Set was the individual that betrayed Alsar, his brother, right? He was among the original people, but ended up being the chief enemy of the original people. You see? So it took Heru, a Hierophant, to supplant that plant. All right.
These niggas got erratic than a motherfucker.
I don't support this language, but listen to this foolishness.
These niggas supposed to be the children of God.
This is the
They
beast,
talking
right?
about peace. They talking about equality, freedom, and
Okay.
all the lying ass other shit that they claim they practice, but they are some low slanderous ass niggas.
Are you
We got to
serious?
call people on the shit that
You
they
see
say
how
they
loosely he
believe in.
used that
And when you
N-word,
go
family?
up into the Moore Science Temple, they talking about love, harmony, equality, freedom.
Okay.
and all this other shit. But when
Okay.
you see the niggas all since me and Pharaoh, and we coming with scholarship, and you should be able to present scholarship for scholarship. But
right?
you niggas have presented nothing but slander, and so that show us your true goddamn name.
So you recognize
see,
the hatred
the door
right there,
must
right?
be open. You see, the information can no longer be contained.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is the thing, we cannot unify. Okay?
We can't
Under the
unify
term,
because of that foolery that he demonstrated.
Type of ideology into the house is first clear. Until first the house is cleaned out. Okay, a lot of people say, oh,
yeah,
Pharaoh and
there's
Seti,
a time that you too must be examined,
niggas.
brother.
I'm attacking the white man, niggas. I'm attacking the white man. That's what the fuck we got to deal with. If the nigga is the one, if the white man then taught the nigga to whoop his own brother's back.
In every sentence, he dropping the N-bomb, right?
Where that nigga was whipping his own brother, his own sister back. Who do you go to first? When it's time to get liberation, who do you go? You don't run to the cracker, you run to the nigga first.
Wait a minute, hold on. Did he just say you don't run to the cracker, right? Now, when it's time for liberation, but we just seen that he was in the presence of the European begging them to straighten out some situation that he felt that he was being oppressed according to. You know, but now he's saying we don't go to the quote-unquote cracker for liberation. All right, listen to him now.
Niggas who have been trained to whip their own brothers and sisters back with lies and treasonous information that they know that's going to keep the people enslaved, keep the people on the plantation. That's exactly what happened. See, when you talking about the Moorish Science Temple, the Nation of Islam, they co-opted many terminologies from Marcus Garvey's UNIA. One of those key terms was nationality because they knew that the people wanted to be free. And Marcus Garvey said, God damn it, we got to get away from the white man. These niggas is crying on their fucking knees, sucking the white man off, got the white man come dripping.
Okay. I'm going to stop it right there because, you know, that ain't really necessary. But I'll say this right here, family. Okay, now you hear this. Clown. Okay, he is saying that terminology was co-opted from Marcus Garvey's measures, right? And we give honors to Marcus Garvey as Moorish American because the prophet called him his forerunner. You know, he said Marcus Mosai Garvey was his forerunner. You know, as John the Baptist was Yehoshua's forerunner. He was the new forerunner in this era time for Yehoshua will come again. You know, so when you get into this special droid, what you learn in regards to dealing with this one is that he don't study. You know, he's so much in opposition to these ones because he say that these are Masons. This is what he say, right? Noble Drew Ali is a Mason and a Shriner. We're going to set the record straight on that in a little bit as well. But unbeknownst to him, evidently, he don't even know that Marcus Garvey was actually a part of the Masonic order. African Lodge, I want to say 459 or somewhere around there, but he was a part of the Masonic Lodge. And there are pictures that I have to prove this. He was actually at the funeral of John E. Bruce. You know, that was one of the ones that was a part of the lodge, and they was associated with him and Deuce Ali. Deuce Ali was also affiliated with the Masonic Lodge, and they were in the picture with Arthur Scumborg, from which you have the Scumborg library organization, so to speak, where a lot of the archives are kept. You know, so he was indeed a part of Masonry, and you can see Marcus Garvey there with the Masons attending at a special funeral. Now, this doesn't mean that Marcus Garvey had placed Masonry above the liberation of his people, because we know better. You know, we just setting the record straight. But he have so much hatred for Prophet Noble Drew Ali because he claimed Noble Drew Ali was a Mason. He claimed Noble Drew Ali was a Shriner. Well, produce the record, my brother. Produce the record that Noble Drew Ali was initiated into a lodge, Pythian Knights, whatever you can find. And I guarantee you don't find it. And we're going to show you why in a minute. But let us proceed on.
All down his goddamn jaw. Nation of Islam want the cracker to give him half of the land. These niggas telling you to go downtown and fill out a fake ass application. These niggas is tying you back to the goddamn plantation. And y'all niggas cannot see, but they tricked you because they knew that the people wanted nationality. So they fed off of that. But then they diverted and they threw a misdirection in. And instead of you going to Africa and establishing your own land, nigga, you still here in America with no option whatsoever. They still killing your ass in the street, still jumping on your babies, still jumping on your women, killing the brothers for wholesale. Even right now today, even though Marcus Garvey told you niggas that was going to continue to happen to you.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so here he is getting at the NOI and the MST of A because he say that Garvey was speaking on going to Africa, but they still here in America and this happening to the Basil. But you the general. I ain't seen you bust no iron yet. I ain't seen you sling no iron yet, Seti. You know, Mr. Guerrilla Warfare General. I ain't seen that. You know, so this is the behavior of an agent provocateur, Moorish kin, and people out there. This is an agent provocateur at his heights. Same type of demonstration. You know, he trying to stir up your ethers, you know, and then you go out there, you know, if you listen and become a crash dummy, and the next thing you know, the Federal is on the manifest at the behest of him, you know, General Seti. So what army are you leading, Mr. Seti? You know, man, this is crazy listening to this clown. You know, boy, I tell you. I'm going to use the measures that the prophet told us to demonstrate. I won't go in the area he demonstrating in the mildest form. But I just say this one is a real case, you know, and he has mesmerized only the ignorant. But the wise see you. You know, I see exactly who you, I know who you are. You know, this is funny right here. You know, I've been on both sides of that scimitar. I'm gonna use that language. You know, and Rome has been on the other end of mine. What about yours? So we ain't gonna go into as far as the historical background check, because that's neither here nor there. But you're an armchair wannabe revolutionary. Shaking my head, man.
Until you get up off of your goddamn ass and get your own. So these niggas have done our people a disservice because Marcus Garvey had ships. Marcus Garvey was trying to take us back home over 100 years ago. And if they had not sabotaged the great Messiah, ain't no telling where we would be at this time. So for these niggas to have diverted from the teachings of Marcus Garvey in over 100 years, the goddamn Moorish Science Temple was over 100 years old, the goddamn Nation of Islam is 88 years old, and they have not done no more for the people. You ought to take every last one of them niggas out and onto a tree, just like these goddamn crackers, and put these niggas' neck in a motherfucking noose and hang their ass.
Now you hear that right there. You see how this individual talking. Now do that sound like somebody of wisdom? He talk tough, or he talking a good one, but I know when it come time to really stand for what he's standing for, you know, and you know, angels are on the manifest in regards to dealing with that measure. You know, that one gonna tuck his tail just like the hound that he is. You know, he's from the doggone tribe, you see? And I don't mean the Dogon tribe, but the dog-owned tribe. You know, and goodness gracious. Now, here he is speaking of the MST of A in the Nation of Islam, you know, but what have you done to uplift your people in this era and time? How many people are free as a result of you ranting back and forth on YouTube? Only thing you did is gain a little fiat here and there, on lectures because people like to see entertainment. But freedom is not a game with me, so we here to free our people. And again, there are those like you that in due time, divinity will examine you. I just leave it that way. So when it come down to dealing with this special measure, I'ma just shake my fez again at you.
Because they have no doubt betrayed our people to the United States of America and the colonial powers. As Pharaoh showed down many times through the ages, how these niggas with the fezzes was nothing but the soldiers for the goddamn colonial power. This truth has been crying to get out for years. And so you can see that today the door will be open. The ancestors is trying to get out so that the truth can be known to the people today. The Moore Science Temple is a pseudo-Islamic organization. It's pseudo. I said pseudo. That too. They all that. They all fucked up. Pseudo-Islamic organization. You understand what I'm saying? Once you know the tenets of Islam, you know these niggas is not Muslims. And I'm not betraying or portraying Islam to be the rightful religion of our people. But what I know the tenets of that false religion. And that Islam of Arabia is the first Islam. Okay? That was the first Islam. So now what they do is they kidnap words from other religions. They kidnap words from other cultures. And they pervert those words so that they don't mean the same thing as they originally meant. When you go into the Moore Science Temple, and even the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ, you will see that Jesus is not going to India. Jesus in Europe, that wasn't in the original book.
Hold up. Now this cat here say that, the Moors are not practicing true Islam. They practicing pseudo-Islam. It's a pseudo-Islamic organization, he say, right? And then he speaks of, ones taking words, he say, and perverting the words. So what you are saying is that the language that's known as a bastard language, the European language, being that they have it the way it is, you are saying that it's perverted when Moors give their definition to a particular word from its original bastardized state, because we know that the bastardized state of the language derived from other languages as well. So what are you doing? Are you supporting the same language of the slave master that you claim you hate? You ain't making no sense there. But for your information, the word Islam is not used in the Moorish teaching or the Moorish paradigm as you perceive it. As a matter of fact, if you understand anything about Islam, there are 3 dimensions to what is known as the religion of Islam, and Islam itself represents the first dimension. But then you have what you call Iman, and you have Insan. So really, technically, Islam is not even, shouldn't be even used in the context of religion. This is just a degree of the understanding and the unfoldment of one going into a state of self-mastery. Now, we refer to the teachings in the Moorish paradigm, we refer to Islamism. And there's a reason we demonstrate that a special way. We say that is the old time religion. And if you know anything about the adepts, and I know you don't like that word, so I use it on purpose, of the East, then you know that they practice Islam in a thin layer. But all the while they were demonstrating the Comedian teachings beneath the surface, you see? And this is the grand drawing. This is the uniting of the Moorish Holy Quran that we demonstrate, the ancient Comedian way of life. I can't speak for other Moorish science temples and what they demonstrate, but I'm telling you the true paradigm that's being demonstrated at this special measure here, that we are referring to, and we deal with Islamism. We talking about the ancient Comedian teachings of Sutanoti, Shedunetta, know thyself. Let me proceed.
It wasn't in the original lie. So they've taken Jesus, they've taken Buddha, they've taken Muhammad, and they've co-opted those characters and rewrote the narrative, okay, to fool you that this is actually Islam. One of the first tenet of Islam is your Shahada. You must accept Allah as your God and Muhammad of Arabia as the prophet of Allah.
And see, there it go again. I can see you've never read any Moorish material, because if you did, you would notice that right there under our authority, you see, we give honors to Allah and we give honors to Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah. That's how ignorant you are. We know that Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah was the seal of the prophets to the Arabians. And seal doesn't mean final. It doesn't mean end to us. Seal just simply means that he was authentic. He was a prophet of the Most High. He had the stamp and approval of the Most High. That's what seal represents. But the Arabs, even in the East, have that twisted because they believe that seal means end. Now, they are taking an English word and trying to make it what they want it to be. But seal actually means that he is authentic. He's not a phony. He's not a fake. He was sent by God. So we say Noble Drew Ali is the prophet of this new era in time. He is the prophet to us, that was sent to us. You see, to uplift our people. And he didn't get the definition of the word prophet from the European dictionary, because prophet to us means a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. A thought of God manifested in the flesh. That's Comedian teaching. If you know anything about the ancient Egyptian teachings, you know that Tehuti was divine mind. And Tehuti was that divine mind made manifest. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Being a prophet is a thought of God manifested in the flesh, and the prophet received his title prophet from Kemet when he went into the dismal crypts and when he was initiated in the ancient systems of Kemet, mystery systems. This is where he received his degree of prophet, the 7th adept degree. That's what made him the Hierophant. I doubt you know what that is, but let me proceed.
And in Orthodox Islam, the prophethood is sealed. There is no more prophets after the prophet of Muhammad of Arabia. So for no.
And another thing about that seal of the prophet, if you understand the history in regards to dealing with the wife of Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, Aisha, she said, don't say that he is the seal of the prophets, as in the end of the prophets. You see? That's a whole nother message. His wife said that. But that's a whole nother drawing. I ain't getting into that with you.
Ali to call himself a goddamn prophet within Islam is blasphemous. And they know that. And if you was to take that book to Mecca, the Circle 7 Quran, and show them Arabs over there a picture of Noble Drew Ali and say that he's a prophet of Islam, them niggas gonna come back in 2 boxes. One for his goddamn body and one for his goddamn head.
Now, you think that surprised us in this new era in time? I know of the fanaticism of the East. And that's why Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that we were going to have to take these lessons and set our brothers straight in the East as well. So when it comes to dealing with that, it was the same people that was of Arabia that killed Prophet Muhammad. and his family members while saying that they believed in him. So, I mean, that's nothing new. You know, they always slayed and killed the prophets. It even said that in the Quran, the Grand Quran of Mecca.
They're going to chop your motherfucking head off. The Nation of Islam is a pseudo-Islamic organization because they practice some of the same tenets, false tenets, different tenets, because each group, when you're dealing with theosophy, you're going to notice. The Mormons is a theosophic society where they kidnap Jesus and rewrite the narrative of who he is. And so you got this strange, even stranger story of Jesus Christ. You understand what I'm saying? He brother with Lucifer and all of this shit, and they having all these babies in heaven and shit. You can have 1,000 babies in heaven. You a god, and everybody is a god, and all of this shit. So this is another theosophic society who follow the tenets of Madame Blavatsky. The Jehovah Witness is another fraternal theosophic society. They kidnap the teachings of Jesus and so on and rewrote a narrative. This is what they do. And they all have prophets within that religion. If you go into the Mormons, the head of Mormonism is a prophet. So you can see that when Madame Blavatsky brought that type of teaching, you'll see prophets all over the goddamn United States of America. You have prophet, Father Divine. There is all these fathers and there's all these prophets. These is different characteristics of theosophy, okay? Which again is all of the esoterical institutions of the world combined, whether it's Sufism, whether it's Kabbalism, whether it's Luciferianism, whether it's Hinduism, whether it's Buddhism, they combine all of them together. And so you don't know whether you're coming or going when you're dealing with these groups. Neither organization practices the strict tenets of Orthodox Islam that identifies one as a true Muslim. These niggas say, I mean, you got the Circle 7 Quran saying that it's the Quran of the holy city of Mecca.
Ignorant. Now, it's one thing to say all the other foolery you speaking on, but when it come down to the history that we teach in regards to dealing with Jesus, and we call him Yehoshua, you know, we teach the 18 missing years of his life when he was being taught by the Comedian or Egyptian adepts. You see, and I use the word Egyptian for a lack of better words, you know, but you would say Egypt mean black. You will show us proof of that. How old is that word? Oh, is that not a word of your oppressor? But let me proceed on. So, dealing with this special drawing about one saying that the Moorish Holy Quran is the Holy Quran of Muhammad or Mecca. You know, I don't know where you got that from, but you very sleep when it comes to that aspect, and you sound really ignorant speaking in that special tone. You know, I can tell you ain't did your research. You know, you very shallow when it comes to that ass. You just ranting. I don't know where all this hatred come from.
Which is untrue. You take that book to Mecca and tell them that this is their holy book, and again, them niggas will get their head cut off. Both organizations co-opted lingo of the Islamic faith to give you the illusion that they are Muslims, or at the least practicing some form of Islam, and they are not. Okay? They are not. So when you see these niggas put Islam on their identification card, sovereignty card, nigga, that is to fool you that you are becoming something, but in actuality, they tricking you niggas onto the boat.
What is an identity, a sovereignty card? See, that's another measure. I can tell you don't understand more science. Ain't got nothing to do with no sovereign citizen movement, fool. You know, excuse me, family. But we don't demonstrate a sovereign citizen ideology. Well, at least I don't in our body. We don't over here. There's no such thing as individual sovereignty. What happened to your sovereignty when Rome stick its gun in your mouth? Sheesh.
They just like they tricked you the last time. They tricking you onto the boat. This is what they did in Africa. Trick niggas onto the boat. Okay? Because these were the Negroes that had access to the interior of Africa. Come on, we got jobs for you, nigga. Man, these crackers taking us over here, nigga, they gonna give you so much gold. They gonna give you all this and that. And when you got on the goddamn boat, the cracker put chains on your neck, on your motherfucking wrist, and on your ankle. So we are fighting a cold war, and what you do not know can and will destroy you if one of a righteous heart does not reveal the truth unto you. And so that's what we're doing here today. You got to get back to your Garveyism. You got to get back to your John Henry Clark, Khalid Muhammad, Dr. Ben.
All them individuals you just named, the majority of them were Masons, or they were affiliated with Masonry, but they didn't choose to produce or promote, so to speak, that a special measure over the liberation of their people. You know, it's pictorial reflections out there with your buddy, Dr. Ben, in Shriner's Regalia. We know that John Henry Clark, the elder, studied in a European's educational system and received his information. We also have footage of Dr. Ben teaching in the lodge, you know, Khalid Muhammad teaching in the lodge, you know, and so forth and so on. But Khalid also said that he was a Moor, and he got sense enough to know that he's a Moor, and he wouldn't say it if he didn't mean it. So, I mean, I don't know what you got going. Even when it comes to the flag, you always hollering red, black, and green. But when it comes to the red, black, and the green, that came from an Islamic culture. That was adopted from the flag of the Mahdi. You know, the same one that you seen the Nubians flying, that they adopted from the Mahdi of Egypt. This special flag was given because it was the flag of Deuce Muhammad Ali. His father was a part of that. Deuce Muhammad Ali was from Sudan, and so quite naturally he had that banner, and Garvey adopted those colors, the black, red, and green, from that, since you hate, you know, Islam so much.
Ism. Okay, you got to get back to your Francis Crest Wilson-ism. You got to get back to your Shaka Musa Barashango-ism.
Honors to all them brothers and sisters.
The master teachers and mistress teachers that put this down originally with a righteous heart. You know what I'm saying? So when I say black power, I'm not talking about none of you niggas.
Dead power,
you got
huh?
to earn it more today than you ever had to earn it. Back then, we had so many great leaders that you knew had a righteous heart. So these niggas is saying any...
And Noble Drew Ali didn't have a righteous heart when he gave his life for his people? You sound crazy.
Everything out of their mouth as a means of costume revolutionaries. See, these niggas is costume. They not real in their heart. They walk is not that of a real revolutionary.
Not near time have we seen you on the battlefield out there in Detroit. I would say that again. So be careful as to who you call a costume revolutionary. You know, when they was giving you poison water, I didn't see you on the front line with sticks out there slinging iron. You know, when you see brothers and sisters getting shot down that you seen, I ain't see you on the front line. So what general are you a war? Oh.
So today, when I say black power, and you
Dead
hear
power,
niggas
huh?
say black power, we ain't talking about the same goddamn black power. Nigga, I'm out here really liberating the minds of my people, exposing you fake ass.
Liberating the minds of
Okay,
your
so
people
there
by
cannot
slandering
be
their
no
ancestors, huh?
unity in the conscious community any
Cause of
goddamn
cats
way.
like you.
Because when I went on the goddamn internet, you can see where the Nation of Islam and the Moor Science Temple do not identify as the same type of Islamic organization.
So you were sent to make sure that there remains a rift between the two, huh?
Between each group, which will not cause them to unify. So if two supposed Islamic groups cannot unify amongst each other, how the fuck is the Black Power community gonna unify with a group like the Nation of Islam and the Moor Science Temple, and when all of the Islamic groups, based on their rhetoric, cannot unify amongst themselves, and they claim to be Islamic? So you niggas is those out there that talking unity, you niggas is much of agent as them niggas. Because if you knew anything about what would cause us to unify and see that we don't have it because there are too many groups all over the place with different ideology, and the only way we're going to unify if we have a common ideology. So to scream unity before we have that common ideology is a form of treason. You trying to trick us to attempt to put our energy in something that cannot be done.
Here you are teaching this unity and claiming you want unity. You can't have it both ways. You can't serve two masters, Seti.
Of Egypt, ancient Africa, and Asia. So when you hear the Moor Science Temple teach about Egypt, when you hear the Nation of Islam teach about here Egypt, when you hear the Rosicrucians, which is another occult Freemasonry group that has plagiarized, perverted, and distorted ancient Egypt, this is an occult Egypt. And so what you niggas do is that y'all niggas, anytime y'all hear Egypt, you niggas dive in head first. You think every time you hear Egypt, it's the truth. Okay, 95% of what's being taught out here about Egypt is a goddamn lie. That's why we had to come with the false teachings of the M.A.G to show you this.
Okay, I want to stop right here real quick. Now here go one talking about the false teachings of the M.A.G, and he talking about occult Egypt and false Egypt and everything else. We familiar with that right there. You know, in regards to dealing with the false teachings of the Europeans who went in, E.A. Waite, E. Wallace Budge, and a couple of more Europeans who actually stole papyri and put it in newspaper and snuck it out. You know, so, I mean, that's nothing new. You know, but can you speak M.A.G? You know, or do you study Egyptology? You know, as a matter of fact, do you know the true alphabet of ancient Kemet? Are you going off of what somebody else told you? I bet you don't know the true alphabet of ancient Kemet. You don't even know the root alphabet that bind all languages. I bet you can't prove how each language come from each and every other language. And I know that you probably believe that there's a Greek language too, and a Greek civilization. You know, and also when it come down to dealing with the Rosicrucians, if you go into the history of them and do the research, you will find that it was one that was out of Egypt that their teachings are said to come from. So who really brought it? Was it the European or the Egyptian that he say he learned it from? Seemed like to me that the European had an especial tinge for going into places of the East and trying to get information. For some reason, mysteriously, you know, it's always questionable about the source that they received this special teaching from. And you'll find that pattern in everything that the European have when it comes to they dealing with their secret societies and their different organizations. But that's neither here nor there. Let me proceed.
And it's what's so crazy that they won't even tell you how many Theosophists and Freemasons was Egyptologists. Okay? And that much of what the Egyptologist is teaching is from Theosophy. They believe that ancient Egypt was founded by some fucking Atlanteans that came from Atlantis. Y'all don't even know this shit.
Okay. Now he's speaking on Freemasons being theosophists and so forth and so on and vice versa. And, you know, you're going to hear him go on a rant about Atlanteus and so forth and so on. That's another reason I know this man is ignorant. He don't know what etymology is. You know, you can trace a people through the root word in the language. You know, unless he has some other dictionary that we don't know about, you know, and I guarantee you'll never see that one. But when it come down to dealing with this foolery that he talking about, if you know anything about what they call Atlantis, the word Atlantis comes from Atlan. And Atlan is rooted in dealing with what is known as ad, because the T has always been interchangeable with the letter D in the change of languages. So the word at was really ad, and the ad, is referred to even in the Quran of Mecca, Quran of Muhammad. And Ad represented the first people. The Ad people were the first people. That's why the A and the D was placed on the front of the name Adam for the first man. So Ad will always represented the first or the origin of something. You know, even when you go into dealing with Adam and that T being interchangeable, this is why it actually is found that it derived from Atum. You see, Atum, Atim, some people like to call it. And that's just the difference in the vowels that's used in the U and the E is based upon the European trying to express what they claim they found in the Comedian Medunetta. You know, so, man, you're a lost brother.
Okay, so when they teach that a white race, they just won't lead you back far enough so you can see the rest of the story. They'll just tell you some white people came in and founded Egypt, even though the European had not even produced a civilization on the continent of Europe yet. So if the white man came in and created Egypt, what white man was that? Because y'all had not even produced the first civilization yet, which was Greece. They talking about Atlantis. See, they talking about Atlantis. But they don't want to show you so much of their story because they know people going to say, wait a minute, I don't know nothing about no goddamn Atlantis. Our teachers told us that ancient Egypt came from the heart of Africa. It came out of Central East Africa, down by the Great Lakes region of Africa. And then it flowed down the Nile River, you know, from Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Uganda, into Sudan, then into Egypt. Nobody taught me that some Atlanteans started some goddamn Egypt. So when you hear these groups like the Moorish Science Temple and Nation of Islam teach about Egypt, they are teaching about the Egypt of the Theosophists who was started by Madame Blavatsky. You got other notorious Theosophists like Aleister Crowley, who was probably the second most popular Theosophist outside of Madame Blavatsky. Then you got Albert Pike and so on and so forth. This is where that occult Egypt comes from. Okay? When you
Okay, he say that we teach about what he called the white Egypt, what he called the white version of the history of Egypt. This is what Noble Drew Ali taught right here. And this is coming from Egypt, the capital empire and dominion of Africa. He stated the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. And the only reason the word Canaan is being used here because that is what the world normally understands from the biblical aspect. But in the Comedian languages, it's Kanana. Go look it up for yourself, scholar. And so when you deal with the people of Kanana, these were people that were actually comedian in themselves. They settled in the region known as the Peninsula of Arabia as well. They was all over the place. And as a matter of fact, he said that old man Cush and his family were the first inhabitants of Africa. Those are the same people you referred to as the Ethiopians earlier. You don't comprehend that? As a matter of fact, when you deal with the Kushite dynasty, you had what you call the Meru Kushite. That's M-E-R-U. Notice the consonants M and R is there. And then sometimes spelled M-E-R-O-E. And Dr. Ben spoke on what he called Meroe. And this is actually dealing with the same measure that M and R is there. The same two consonants that's in the word more. But that's on a whole nother measure. We'll get to that later. So in regards to dealing with this Kushite family, you had the Middle Kushites who settled in that special region along the Nile and established that Middle Kushite civilization. And then you had those who were known as the Indus Kushite Valley civilization. These are the ones that went into the region of India, which is why you find teachings of what they call an Egyptian adept or adepts mentioned even in the Indus Kushite Valley region, because they were the same people. Boy. But he went on to say that old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan, and his father Ham, and we know Ham is just a misnomer of the word Cam without the K, and his family was second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing land between the Father and the Son. The dominion of Cush, northeast, then you said southeast Africa, and northwest, southwest was his father's dominion of Africa. You see? But let me go on a little bit more.
Pull back the veil of deception and dissect the teachings of both organizations, you will see that these are Freemason, Theosophic, Luciferian occults, in league with many other cults like Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, Wiccan, Ku Klux Klan, because they're Freemason, but they are also a cult. They are.
Okay, so you're still going on the Mason rant. So if you believe that Noble Drew Ali is a Mason and all these other organizations are Masonic in origin and you hate them because of that, then wouldn't you have to be in opposition to Dr. Ben as well for being a part of the Masonic order? Would you have to be in opposition to Khalid Muhammad as well for being part and partial of the Masonic order as well? Huh? And if you hate the fact that one is learning from a European, wouldn't you have to also be in opposition to John Henry Clark for learning at a European institution? Come on, man. You crazy if you think that I can't see through you and tell that you are full of it. You're an agent provocateur.
Also a cult. Albert Pike, who he didn't find the Scottish Rite, but he rewrote the rules and regulations of the Scottish Rite, so he might as well have found that shit. Okay, he is considered the greatest Mason of all time. His book Morals and Dogma is the Bible of Scottish Rite. Scientology is another occult, theosophical. Okay, Ron L. Hubbard. You see, and another thing that you're going to see is the alien effect. Okay, you're going to see that Madame Blavatsky taught much about that, about the alien effect. Okay, that the aliens came down and gave the Atlanteans and gave the Lumerians some advanced technology. Okay, she the one brought that. So when you
Moors don't teach nothing about no aliens, man. I don't know where you getting that from. What are you smoking? You on that Tunchi stuff? Goodness gracious. We don't talk nothing about no aliens. But I can tell you this. What many like to refer to in the terms of alien are none other than what is referred to in scriptures as Elohim, cherubim, angels, and so forth and so on. And these were depicted in the pyramids. These were depicted in the Sumerian texts and many other cultures. When you see those special depictions of a man with the head of a falcon, or you see a depiction of a woman with the head of a lion, or a man with the head of a lion, or the head of a cow, and so forth and so on. All of these depictions that were mentioned also described biblically as a description. These would be considered extraterrestrial if you've seen something like that in this era and time. So, okay.
Who was a follower of Madame Blavatsky. That's where he got his Aryan philosophy from. Because she was a racist and taught that the Aryans was the most powerful race on the planet. Okay, and that include Caucasians. It include the Hindu of India, who put down another caste system on the Africans over there in Asia. Okay, that's where that caste system comes from, because they practicing Aryanism that was founded by Madame Blavatsky. She's clearly the key racist goddamn Charles Darwin took from that bitch. Even Mahatma Gandhi, who was a fucking Hindu over in India, he was a member of the Theosophic Society founded by Madame. So I don't want y'all to lessen this bitch, her strength and her and the level of her teachings. She taught some of the most wicked and some of the greatest minds that's on the planet. Okay? And her headquarters was in India, and so she was on, that's where you get this fucking noble Jew. I ain't even got into the pictures yet. I got to warm you up. So that once these pictures kick in, this shit gonna get real to you, real fucking the gypsies, okay? The gypsy, you go get your number book. You see the Hindu
gypsy
head wraps on your goddamn number books. You're under the Three Wise Men, the Circle 7 number book. I remember that book back when I was a kid, when my mama and grandmamas and them was playing the numbers, and they had street numbers, and everybody had a fucking dream book and a number book, where they had the Circle 7 dream book way back then. So that Circle 7 is an occult number and has always been an occult number. Okay? Rosicrucians and Freemasonry also is theosophic occult group.
That's another way I can tell that you don't know what you're talking about, because when you deal with ancient Kemet and Metal Netta, every letter has a number that identifies with it, and there's a spiritual significance to the numbers in regards to dealing with the letters. But you wouldn't know that. Oh, did your master teachers not teach you that? Oh, we won't blame the good brothers, but I don't know who been teaching you what they've been teaching you or who raised you. But you need your behind tore up. So, in regards to dealing with the turban, you talking about it's a Hindu headdress. Another ignorance. The turban has always been indigenous to those who studied the teachings of Islam. And Muhammad himself is said to have derived the turban, from the angel Gabriel. Gabriel was not a spook, he was a man. He came to him in the form of a man. But yet also, prior to him seeing Gabriel, he was actually prepared for his meeting with the angel Gabriel, who was a Comedian Adept Master. He was prepared by the Sebugatala, and I'll get into that later. The Sabiun Hunafa, you see. And the Sabiunu Nafa, known as the Sabians, some people say Sabians, they also wore the turban. The turban was worn by the Sumerians prior to even the Muslims are the Islamic people. You can see this, in the glyphs. You know, there were always head wraps that were utilized. Even if you go into Kemet, you will see there are certain aspects where the head, is wrapped. But that's a whole nother measure. Goodness gracious, you think every time you see somebody with a turban or a fez on, they got something to do with India. Man, you reach it.
Okay, let me go in. Now, when you look at this occultism, I got this damn, this is a vintage quilt. And so you see on this vintage quilt, shit, it got 50 different goddamn
He done created a quilt and put religious names on it. Wow.
It got over 50 different textiles on this goddamn forms of cloth on the goddamn quilt, taken from different cloths. So that's what occultism is. It's not no one thing. They're taken from so many and they're weaving it together. It's Aryanism. It's Hindu Sufism, Hindu Islam, Buddhism, Christianity. You got teachings coming out of Tibet. You got the Ahmadiyya Muslims. You got the Turkish Islam. You got Atlantis. You got Lemuria teachers. Okay, so it's a accumulation of all type of esoterical teachings on the planet. We got these dates here in case we have to, make it clear on who came first and who took from who. You see, the Shriners, the white Shriners were founded in 1870. Just like Pharaoh was saying, they're going to say, oh, that the niggas, that the white man took it from them. That's a goddamn lie. The first group in America of black people that was wearing the fez in mass was the Prince Hall Shriners. And they were
ignorant. Now, you saying that the Prince Hall Shriner was the first group that was wearing the fez in mass. Man, before there were Prince Hall Shriners, there were European Shriners. And when it come down to dealing with the history of these special ones, just to give you a revelation, because evidently you don't know, for your information, FYI, the European Shriners started wearing the fez after their contact with the Egyptian Khedive of Egypt, Khedive Ismail of Egypt, those who are of the Pasha. And it was during a particular time when the Europeans were recorded to first wear this fez. It was the year that the actor in Western Freemasonry known as William J. Florence, he witnessed what he described as a play, whereas he took notes of what he observed, and he was invited by the Arab diplomat to this particular gathering. And at the end of this particular gathering, everybody that had participated were actually initiated into a secret society. You see, so upon my investigation and research, it is found that the play that he observed being demonstrated was by mercenary soldiers of the American Confederate Army, whom William Florence had no idea were actually natives of America, and also the ritual he compiled from the gathering, whereas it was actually that which became the ritual of the ancient Arabic Order of the Noble of the Mystic Shrine. So these were American soldiers in Egypt up under the Khedive, and they were demonstrating this special rite or ritual in this area, as a play. And then this is where your Shriners demonstration come from. So really it was a case of the Europeans putting on a show, making it seem like the Arabs gave them authority or authenticity, but in all actuality, it was them that was conferring these special degrees upon themselves, to establish some sense of legitimacy between them and the Eastern world because they couldn't travel freely. So therefore, they would create an organization that would be quasi Islamic, so to speak, and then hopefully this would allow them a way to go into that special land freely. You see, this is what that had to do with. So unbeknownst to many European and NBC Negro, Black, and Colored Shriners, the original Shriners were mercenaries of the Egyptian Khedive. And I got pictures and everything that proves that. So, goodness gracious. The word Fez itself tells you the root and the origin of Fez. It comes from the city of Fez, the holy city of Fez, where a lot of wisdom was found at. You see, the holy city of Fez in Morocco, before the present day Moroccans, who are really Zionists, got there. That's a whole nother measure. So the Fez is indigenous to Africa. Man, do you even read?
Founded in 1893. That's 23 years after the White Shriners. So the White Shriners was wearing the Fez first in numbers. Okay? In numbers. You got the Theosophical Society.
Now you see, he just said that the Prince Hall was the first one wearing it in mass. Then he said the White Shriners. That's how you can tell he confused. That ain't really a big deal, because he correcting himself in all actuality, but you can tell he all over the place. He has no stability.
Founded in 1875. That's Madame Blavatsky and William Steele Olcott, the two founders of the Theosophical Society. They founded in New York, and then they moved it to India in 1886. We're going to see the Ahmadiyya Islam movement was founded in 1889. They come out of Pakistan. And the reason why we got to bring them up is because they was the ones that created Jesus being in India, which is an occult teaching. You find that all throughout occult. Well, they was the ones that founded that. And so you're going to see, and not only that, Fraud Muhammad suggested to the Nation of Islam if that they're going to read the Quran, that they read two Qurans, the Yusuf Ali Quran and the Maulana Muhammad Ali Quran, both coming out of Pakistan. And Maulana Muhammad Ali was from the Ahmadiyya Muslims, which are not Orthodox Muslims. They have some esoterical teachings in their Islam, and they are suppressed in Orthodox Islam.
And another way you can tell that he is in the error and he don't know what he's talking about is because prior to the teachings of Ahmadiyya, there were teachings speaking of Jesus or Yehoshua being present in Kashmir, India. So I can tell you shallow in that special area too. You just reaching.
Kill they ass. Because they teacher, which I'm going to show you, also claimed to be a prophet. That he was the returning Messiah of Jesus Christ, because Islam still believes that Jesus Christ is coming back. So the founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslims, which I'm going to show you, said that he was the coming Christ. And because in Orthodox Islam, they believe that Muhammad was the last prophet, they suppress and kill these Ahmadiyya Muslims wherever there's dominant Shiite and Sunni.
You got it wrong with the Moors. We don't believe that Jesus is coming back. We believe that Jesus returned. We believe Noble Drew Ali is Yehoshua or Jesus come again. Yes, sir. Yeah, I said it. And we're talking about the spirit that he carried. That's a whole nother measure. You wouldn't understand that though.
Only groups, they kill their ass for they teaching. So why would the Nation of Islam give y'all some old esoterical ass Quran that they know that the founder and his group is being suppressed all throughout Orthodox Islam? So they set y'all niggas up right there. But what I'm saying,
You don't see them killing Ahmadiyya Muslims today. The Ahmadiyya Islam is supported today and accepted today. And they have those beliefs.
is you're going to see that the Theosophists were already teaching about Jesus in India before Farad Muhammad suggested that the Nation of Islam study the fucking Quran of the Ahmadiyya Muslims.
Well, where did the Theosophists get it from then, Seti? Because I see you give a lot of credit to the Theosophists. Where did the Theosophical Society get their information from? Because if you know anything about Madame Blavatsky, whatever, H.P. Blavatsky, then you automatically know that she would tell you she got her wisdom from the adepts in India. You see, so the charge is not upon Blavatsky, so to speak. She just giving you the source from which she learned from. But you wouldn't comprehend that because you trying to place the burden on Blavatsky. You giving Blavatsky all of the credit. You don't know how to go to the source. You shallow.
The white boys had already came in contact with the Ahmadiyya Islam before Farad Muhammad, before the Nation of Islam, before the Moor Science Temple. Blavatsky and her group was already over there co-opting all of that information. So I seen a video from Paul Guthrie, who was a scholar who was trying to say that Farad Muhammad was a Buddhist, that he was from India, and that what he was teaching was Buddhism. Paul Guthrie sold the goddamn community short. That man ain't no goddamn Buddhist. That man is a fucking Freemason. He got that shit from them Theosophists. If he just sell you short and tell you that this nigga didn't dress like no damn Buddhist. Buddhist bald head with some goddamn little barely got clothes on.
Farad came from the line of the Khedive Ismail. The flag that he brought came from the Young Turks. This is proven, and it say freedom, justice, equality, and Allah one say freedom, justice, equality, and unity. But he is a descendant of the Pashas. Farad himself is, who is really known as Fuad. They have Prince Fuad, and then they have King Fuad. He comes from that special line and lineage. As a matter of fact, that's the same lineage that the Prince Hall Masons claim that they trace themselves back through. When they call themselves, speaking of one they refer to as Rofelt Pasha. In all actuality, this Rofelt Pasha is really Tawfiq Pasha, related to Ismail Pasha, and so forth and so on. So that's a whole nother measure. So even the European Shriners themselves are tracing themselves back to the Pashas, as well as the Prince Hall Shriners, just different particular ones they are claiming to trace themselves through. And it was these who were actually of Egyptian Ottoman blood. So you see the same flag that the Nation of Islam have through that Egyptian Ottoman bloodline and empire, also going into the Turkish bloodline, and also an Indian link through as well, a possible bloodline that goes back to his mother.
They goddamn back. This motherfucker had on a suit. Motherfucker had a fade, had a taper. You know, goddamn Buddhists got no taper and no goddamn suit like that. That motherfucker was a Freemason. And I can show you that. And what's clear about why Paul Guthrie is very
Yeah, shouts out to Paul Guthrie, by the way, because I remember years ago he actually referred to one of my particular measures that I set out in support of it. Uh, Basically, before he had actually started doing the interviews on Farad's history, so shout out to him because he reached out to me and basically said that he was honored to see me bringing the measures to the manifest in regards to dealing with Farad, because the nation, even to this day, don't have knowledge of who he really was and where he came from.
What's the objective of pan-Islamism? What is the objective of the Moor Science Temple? What is the objective? And so if he come and tell you that this shit is just Buddhism and then don't teach you what these covert groups is doing to you, he leaving you out in the fucking open to be shot down by the motherfucking groups that's trying to do this to you. So that nigga, what he taught is not the truth. And anytime Paul Guthrie want to get with me, he can get with me. And I'll show you all the flaws in your teachings. The Prince Hall Shriners founded in 1893. Moore Science Temple founded in 1913. So it show you that the Prince Hall Shriners was wearing the fez 20 years before the Moore Science Temple was founded. And I can come back to these. I will come back to these when it's necessary to come back to them. Let me go on off into this.
You said all that about the feds, but in the same token, you forgot to tell the people that the Masons themselves will tell you that they got that from the Moors, or it represents a distinguished people of the elite, the feds itself.
Some of the I'm gonna say, when I say theosophy, I'm gonna just say from the
Matter of fact, hold on, since I'm there. Because I like to be on point and I like to be right and exact with everything that I bring forth. So I'm going to do it this way right here. Because I actually have an article in here. And in this special article, they tell you why they wear the fez and where they got it from and how they adopted it and so forth and so on. So let me see. Where is it at? Let me see. Not that. Okay. Not that there. Give me one moment, family. I'm just looking through my archives. I got so many up here. It'll pop up for me in a second. Because he want to give all the credit to somebody else other than who the credit is due to. That's a lot of hatred. Yeah, that's a lot of hatred and animosity, man. You must be related to some of them cats that betrayed Prophet Noble Drew Ali. You related to Lomax Bay down the line somewhere? That's your great granddaddy? Because he was in Detroit. Is that the case, Seti? You related to Claude Green L, the boule that betrayed Prophet Noble Drew Ali? Let the people know who you are. Stand up and be accounted for. I got so many files in here. Let me see. Not there. Okay, not there. No. Oh, there you go, right there. Let me open it up. Try to put these pictures in here as well. Okay. So, we have it. The significance of the fairs, and this is by the Shriners themselves. The nobles wear rich customs of Eastern character made of silk, brocaded velvet of oriental intensity of color. The ordinary custom for street parade is conventional, black, with the regulation fairs. When pilgrimages to Mecca were interrupted by the Crusades about 980, the Mohammedans west of the Nile journeyed into Fez or Fars in Morocco as to a holy city. Among the flourishing manufacturers of the city was a head covering called tarbush, now known as Fez, which was dyed scarlet for the students in a great school at that city. In that way, it became a mark of learning and gradually displaced other forms and colors of hats. It was carried in all directions by caravans and thus became the distinguishing headdress of Muslims in every part of the empire. So, again, you see what I stated. Man, still reaching though, huh? Seti, the general. That's what they call you, right? The general.
Blavatsky is. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. If I say theosophy, you're going to have to study this for a minute so you can really grasp what it is. Occult racism and witchcraft. And I want y'all to know, if Madame Blavatsky was born in America around the 1600s, that bitch would have been burnt at the stake. Okay? So she was a witch. I'm not going to downplay what she was.
See, he talking to the Lord self and the people now. Y'all like to hear that type of stuff, huh?
What he was. He even claimed himself to be the most wicked man that ever lived. He calls himself the Beast 666. Okay, so these is his own words coming out his mouth telling you who he is. And if this man is the Beast and he's 666 and he's the wickedest man in the world and he trained Ron L. Hubbard and the Moore Science Temple partners with Scientology and the group of Ron L. Hubbard, what the fuck is
it's L. Ron Hubbard, man.
Nigga, ain't no getting up
Not Ron L. Hubbard.
You sold our people to this motherfucking beast.
Ron L. Hubbard.
I want you to stay, these are key terms. The 7 root race. You see that 7? That 7 is very popular in a cult.
Uh-oh, he against the 7.
Brought the 7 root races.
What about the 7 gods that was lifted up in the boat by Ka and Kemet?
And the great race of today,
the 7 Neteru.
Okay, the Aryan race, the Hindu, the Caucasian, even the goddamn Mongolians and all of this. See, they fucking brought all these groups together where they stole the cult knowledge and made one great race called the Aryan race. Okay, niggas ain't in that race. Okay, we are considered the downtrodden. Okay, when you talk about us, that's why in fucking Hinduism, the blacks ain't even in the damn caste system. Nigga, we outside of the caste system. That's why they call us outcasts. So we ain't even in the damn caste system. So this is the teachings of the racist white witch, Madame Blavatsky, who was the mother of damn near all Freemason teachings, all goddamn occult teachings in the Western fucking world. That includes Europe too. Okay, I want you to, the Great White Brotherhood, she brought that. Serapis Bay, that Pharaoh brought up, which I'm gonna espouse on.
Sound like you need some water, brother.
She was the first one to say she talked to Serapis Bay. So you're gonna see in theosophy, they do what they call channeling, where some spirit comes into your body and talks through you. That's channeling. So she say Serapis Bay came into her and channeled through her and gave her the information to write her book, Secret Doctrine, which the white boys went through her book and found out she plagiarized
Okay, let me stop you right there. For one, we don't teach about Madame Blavatsky as Moors. We teach about Moorish science. And also, Prophet Noble Drew Ali never said that he was the author of the work that he brought. He said he divinely prepared it. And furthermore, Levi H. Dowling himself never said that he wrote the Aquarian Gospels. He said he transcribed it. Even his wife said that he was not the author. So, if that's the case, the document in and of itself was already on the manifest. Prophet Noble Drew Ali got his through his source, and Levi got his through his source. But the prophet took the Europeanized measure off of it, and he brought the Moorish measure to the manifest. That blonde hair, blue-eyed Jesus that was being spoke of in the Aquarian Gospel, Prophet Noble Drew Ali took that demonstration out of there. That's why he say, where do we get the name Yehoshua? From the east. Where do we get the name Jesus? From the west. So quote him right when you quote him. But you wouldn't know that though. Oh, that's in the 101s and 102s, by the way.
Into Asia and into Africa stealing literature, and they didn't believe that we would ever get over there and see where they got it from. So they rewrote all the information to make it look like they was the authors of it. But when the information age and then people started to go to these places and do their own research, they found out that these motherfuckers had been stealing all kind of shit, rewriting it and fucking or putting their names on it. So she was busted by her own white scholars from plagiarizing both of her great works, Secret Doctrine and Isis Unveiled.
So if she plagiarized it, then how can you say that it came from her? And that's where the Moors got it from. You ain't making no sense. Either she the source of the information or she plagiarized the information. Goodness gracious. Boy. I see what happened. You done got caught up in a whirlwind and read a little bit too much more than what you can handle or stand. And it's running you crazy. You're a madman.
El Moria. Okay? El Moria. Now I want you to look at that more. I want you to look at that El.
Look at it, y'all.
Look at that
El Moria.
El Moria is another ascended master. A great spirit, a great individual who through, great illumination rose up into the ethers and still wanted to help humanity, so they choose.
El Moria is just another way of saying El Moria. Lemuria.
Somebody on earth who calls themselves a prophet.
The Moor and the Bay. She was taught by the Bay and the Moor and the Els.
That's why each one of these motherfuckers who say they talking to one of these great spirits, which they call ascended masters, call themselves a prophet. You can go on, the Mormonism, the Jehovah's Witness, all of them motherfuckers do the same thing. That shit come from Madame Blavatsky. So
wait a minute, how you gonna be a priest or a high priest of Amun-Ra and you don't know nothing about talking to the ancestors? When this is depicted throughout all of the hieroglyphics and the texts of Kemet, where the gods are beaming their intuition up, they got the unks coming forth from their head, shown in the vibration of the artwork and artistry, and they're going into divinity. But you feel spooked out when you hear something about somebody getting a revelation, through a master teacher, ascended masters. Yeah, I can tell that you ain't a master of nothing.
You're going to see that she was already discussing Serapis Bay and El Moria in 1875. I'm going to go right back to the day. talk about the Moor, when they say Moor and they say L and they say Bay, they're not talking about, let me go back.
Look at that. He lost his thought then.
Historical Moor in your goddamn history book. See, now we getting down to the real shit. That's why they say, but they blended it all in because they know people started to do research. So then they had to claim it all. But in claiming it all, they had so many fucking contradictions with they dumbass. See, your man's Noble Drew Ali fucked you up because he never foresaw that there would be an information age where all of that information will clearly be accessible to anyone who looked for it. You can no longer lie, and you niggas just became Moors in jail, nigga. Shut the fuck up. You ain't read nothing but the Circle 7 Quran, nigga. That's all you ever read. You don't have the proper fucking scholarship, nigga, to even debate the information because the information is right and exact. Okay? So we're going to be, I want y'all to stay, these key words, Bay, L, Moor, Moo. That's why they spell Moor sometimes M-U-U-R. Okay? Lumeria.
Now this brother is most definitely illiterate because he see the etymology right in front of him, but he don't comprehend it. That's why I know he don't understand Metal Netter. If you know anything about the word Mu actually means land. And when you hear about the ancient Moabites, comedically, according to the Metal Netter, it's actually Mu'abba. You see Mu and Ab. Abba represents the father, so Mu is the land, so you're dealing with the land of the father, right? That same Mu is in the word Lemuria, right? Elmuria. Mu is the prefix of the name Ahmad, Muhammad, right? They say Muslim. You know, this Mu is a very important attribute in character, so to speak, that links even back to Kemet. You have the goddess Mut. Queen Mu is what she referred to. That's a whole nother measure. You wouldn't know that. And I can tell because it's going right over your nappy head. Oh, I'm sorry, family. I didn't mean it. I ain't trying to be one that insult one, but he called my prophet the N-word. So I'm kind of upset about that. I'll be honest with you. You don't talk about a divine prophet like that.
On the land of Mu and the Theosophists, white Europeans created all of this shit. So the question becomes to me, if you are ancient Moor, the question becomes, where is your literature? Why the fuck is you keep plagiarizing from white people who just really created these old fake ideas in the late 18?
So where your information at? You say it's plagiarized. If he divinely prepared something and he took the European influence off of it, how is that plagiarizing something? I'll wait for your answer.
So on and so forth, you supposed to have your own literature. You should not be plagiarizing
Literature.
from Europeans. And you claim to be the sovereign man. You claim to be the God. You claim to be the highest of creation. And here you is plagiarizing from people who actually look at you as lower than low. In them damn teachings, you are outcasts. You are a maximum, which they call, Africa and North America. Obviously, they saying that both of these land masses was combined, and it's called a maximum, which you can obviously see Mexico in the middle of that. These niggas believe that North America was populated before Africa. Do you understand that? See, y'all niggas ain't...
No, we believe the planet was populated, including Africa. Boy, the ignorance is real.
Got off into that. When you get
We indigenous to the planet, brother. Young brother. I'm gonna say young brother, cause I can tell you still young when it come to knowledge. So we indigenous to the planet, not just Africa. That just so happened to be the cradle of civilization, cause we moved from the center to the outer bounds. So everything that came forth came from the center, and it spread it throughout everywhere else. So get it right, quote us right.
Off into the root races, they teach that North America was populated before Africa. Lemuria was in the Pacific Ocean, and they claim and they came from Lemuria. And when Lemuria was destroyed, many of the survivors went to the landmass of North America and Atlantis. And from Atlantis, the Aryan race, which was the last group, when Atlantis went up under the water, then the Aryan race became the most powerful race.
It's called the continental drift. If we was all over the planet and certain people didn't survive the separation and so forth and so on, it wasn't everybody that died. It was some that actually remained on the manifest. But many did die. This is recorded in your biblical texts as floods and so forth and so on, deluges. This is also in the records of the Sumerians and so forth and so on. But when you go into dealing with what you call these different sunken continents, this is because this was a grand event, a cataclysmic event that took place all around the world during the time of this separation. You know, there were many that were sunk, not the whole of them. Certain things remain, but it's evidence if you go right now beneath the water. There are sunken continents in the Atlantic, sunken continents in the Pacific. They everywhere. You know, so I mean, all over in China, in their waters, is sunken cities, man. Like, where are you? Goodness gracious.
On the planet. And so they was the ones that founded Egypt. So the way they teach it, Asia, it went from Asia to...
And they didn't found Egypt. It was Tehuti, who is known as Thoth to some, who is known as Enoch biblically, who is known as Idris Quranically, or Akhnuk, or is known as Hermes Trismegistus to the Greeks, you know, from whence they speak of the Hermetic philosophies and so forth and so on. This is all everybody tracing themselves back to Tehuti. This is showing that Tehuti's teaching went all the way around the world. Al-Sar was his first student in Kemet. If you know anything about Kemet, you know that.
To North America, then to Africa. Africa was the last goddamn continent to be populated. This is why these niggas talking about they was over here first. See, we getting down today, baby. We getting the
I ain't never heard nobody that's Moors that say they was over here first, other than the fact that we was here before Columbus. You know, Ivan Van Sertima, they came before Columbus. We were here. Some of our people were here, though some were bought on ships as well. But as far as dealing with in the mass scale, the natives that was already here, that was our people that was on the manifest. They were subjugated along with the people that was brought over here during the time of slavery by the time the European got done. And the people that's calling themselves indigenous and Native Americans now, not the original indigenous Native Americans. They are simply those who are on reservations. And a reservation is hell for a person when you're trying to keep other people from occupying a particular space. But you wouldn't know that, would you?
Koran, Koran, which is a European term. That, okay, anybody that uses Koran is usually of European descent. So the fact that, and Muslim too, and I'm gonna show you that. So the fact that these niggas call they shit the Holy Koran is obviously
No, when it comes to dealing with Quran, there's a Moorish interpretation of this as special work, and it is respect for the Quran, not to call it Quran. You see, so that's a whole nother measure right there. And to be honest with you, family, you know, the prophet, moreover than all, referred to his measure as circle 7. You see, so that's a whole nother measure. But we'll get to that later. And also the word Quran just really means recitation. So there's nothing wrong with calling this a Moorish recitation of our special works that was divinely prepared for the Moors. Get it? Oh, you wouldn't know that. But you say we don't comprehend Arabic. By the way, I know you're getting ready to go into that. Not only do I comprehend Arabic, but I can teach it in 7 days. Can you comprehend Arabic? Because you even need that in order to understand Medunetta. You need Egyptian Arabic because that's the last dialect that truly expressed that. Do you know that? Have you been taught that? No, your prejudice won't allow you to be taught that, and therefore you'll never know how to pronounce Medunetta because you don't know better.
They don't know no Arabic. How the fuck is you a Muslim? How the fuck you from the holy city of Mecca? How you fuck you from, and you don't know no Arabic? The only...
All right. Kul huwallahu ahad, samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. He is Allah, the one and only, eternal, besought of all. He beget not, nor is he begotten. There is none comparable unto him. That's Arabic. Salaam alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace be upon you. You see? And blessing. I mean, this is Arabic, right? Shukran, thank you. You know, we can go into many different we can go into many different aspects of dealing with the Arabic itself. You think one don't know? We can go in the same route in regards to dealing with Hebrew. Or what they call Hebrew, because that's not even Hebrew. That still has a Comedian root to it to itself. How you think Moses was able to transcribe or transliterate what were known as the 10 Commandments from the laws of M.A.G? But you don't know better.
only 4 fucking words that both the Nation of Islam and the Moorish Science Temple know is Islam, Mecca, Allah, and Muhammad.
Oh, you forgot about Noble Drew Ali's high name, though. El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. And there are many others that we are familiar with as well. But what do you know of Arabic, young man?
And they might say, and the motherfucking Moors don't even say Assalamu alaikum. They say Islam. And tell you it means
Oh,
something different
you
other
throw
than
a
what
lot
the
of shade,
who
don't you?
created it defined it as. They tell you it means something else. Okay? That's perversion.
You gonna
That's
keep
co-option.
on.
Okay, the white brotherhood, which is all of the ascended masters together. What elements make up Freemasonry? Luciferianism, Arianism, Blavatskyism. Okay, hit it with you. We getting into the pictures now. Here we go. This is the white witch, Madame Blavatsky, 32nd degree Mason, Luciferian witch. Okay? This is the first person that ever spoke to Serapis Bey, which is the deity of the Moorish Science Temple. That's why they call themselves Bey. No different than a person who follows Jesus Christ called himself a Christian. They also follow another ascended master, Moria. That's why they call themselves Moors. Not because they the historical Moor, because they fucking deity, one of their deities is El Moria. And they believe they come from Lemuria. They also believe another crazy cracker. You got 2 different kinds.
Hey, see what he trying to do right there. He know that the root of the word more derives and goes to Lemuria. So he trying to fight the word more so bad. He want to use El Moria, the teacher of Blavatsky, which was obviously one of the originals that taught her. He want to use that to assassinate the character of the Moors by using that name. Good, but not good enough, agent.
You got Mu and Lemuria. You got one say Lemuria was in the Indian Ocean. Then you got one that say these is all sunken goddamn continents. Ain't this some crazy shit? So that's why we ain't got no place on the planet, because where we supposed to come from just sunk under the goddamn water. Okay? It just sunk up under the goddamn water. Okay? Here we go. And so the other cracker on the end is William Steele Olcott, who with Madame Blavatsky formed the Theosophic Society. And you see right here that they co-opt the obelisk, they co-opt the ark, they co-opt many symbols from ancient
He love that word co-op. He think that make him
occult.
sound
And
real
you're gonna see
intelligent.
that
They
the
co-op,
head
they
of
co-op.
this Luciferian occult is the Pope. The Vatican Church is at the head. And then you're gonna see that the top Masonic group is the Jesuits.
A hodgepodge of madness. The Jesuits, they did it too.
The Knights of Malta.
Oh, he's deep, y'all. He deep.
The head of the Jesuits is the Black Pope.
He's dropping knowledge, ain't he?
The Black Pope. Okay, and so the Jesuits was formed to protect the Catholic Church. When the Protestants came on the scene and tried to go against the Catholic Church, the Jesuits was formed, and they are the most subversive group on the planet. The CIA ain't got shit on the Jesuits. A Jesuit will become any member of any organization on the planet to destroy that shit.
You mean
a
Boule?
Jesuit will give his whole life to a fucking being a mole in an organization just to take control of it. This is how deep these Jesuits is. When you talk
General Seti, head of the Jesuit Negro Army.
talking about Westcott, who started the Illuminati, he was a Jesuit. Adam
He was a
Westcott
Jesuit. You know
was
it,
a
no?
Jesuit. Okay, so they run Freemasonry.
You like that word
so
too,
when you
huh?
see these niggas dressing up in a Freemasonry garb,
Freemasonry garb. Uh-oh.
using the Freemasonry handshake, using the Freemasonry teaching, theosophic teaching, and this, that, and the third. You got to ask yourself, who is really at the head of the Nation of Islam? Who is really at the head of the Moorish Science Temple? Who is really at the head of the Prince Hall Shriners? Who is the head of the NAACP, and all of these groups where Masons flood them goddamn organizations?
I can be honest with you. The Boule has infiltrated many of the different organizations among our people. But they ain't in my particular grand body. I can promise you that. You know, so that's a whole nother measure when it comes to that aspect right there. But I believe that you are part of the Jesuit demonstration. I believe you're an agent. Because you came out of nowhere disrespecting Prophet Noble Drew Ali. You started this trend of disrespect of the elders. You was put here to do a particular job, and that's to keep our people from uniting. I know you, Satan. Get thee hence. From whence cometh thou?
This is the Theosophy Society in India, to show you that they went there and they co-opted the Hindu religion. They was already in contact with the Ahmadiyya Muslims long before any group in the United States of America. Okay, they got more than one. This is a different. I think this one is in northern India, one is in southern India, but they got headquarters all over the nation of India. And so you see Madame Blavatsky with her ugly ass standing up in between them two Hindus. You see William Olcott sitting up under her, and you see all them damn gurus and this, that, and the third. This is where goddamn Noble Drew Ali got his information from. Okay? This is Besant, who took over the Theosophy
Besant,
Society.
man. Annie Besant. Eddie
Took over
Besant.
the Theosophy Society after Madame Blavatsky died. You see all of the
Oh
Hindu
my God, this guy's killing me. Annie Besant, man.
Reformed Hinduism and Buddhism and taught it back to the Hindus. No different than they took over Egypt and created Egyptology and sold it to niggas and to the world. This is exactly what they did to all Blavatsky sitting there with the Hindus, damn near, when you talk about 1875, almost 50 years before the Moore Science Temple was formed. This is where they got that information. They didn't go to India themselves. They got that information through theosophists who were trained by Madame Blavatsky. So you see these niggas look like Halloween. It look like Halloween. These niggas dressed up as all type of Hindus, got Turkish fez is on their head to show that they're the property of the Turk, which is a gypsy, which is a Sufi, okay? We got to understand that what type of Islam, because you got all...
You do know that the attire that Noble Drew Ali have on is worn in India today, but it actually dates back to Nubia, right? Kush Nubia. So the Indians really just took the culture from the ancient Kushite dynasties and incorporated it in their own way in their particular era and time. But that particular attire with the ostrich feather in the pajdi, which is the hat that he has on his head, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the sash, and even the hand gesture, all of that is found in the city of Nakada in the Kushite dynasty. But you don't know that. At least you should, especially to be as so-called Afrocentric as you are. Shaking my head.
Types of Islam. Okay, so when you talk about Turkish Islam, you're talking about Sufi Islam. You're talking about
I like this part.
Really ain't even Islam. What is it saying when you're a Sufi?
Okay.
That means you don't read the Quran, nor are there any mosques. You just do your whatever practice you feel like. When you're talking to Allah, you do that.
Okay, he say the Sufi is not real Islam. And this is how you know he ignorant. Now, he always talking about Cheikh Anta Diop, right? You know, Cheikh Anta Diop came from the Maurits, who were also a Sufi family. So you speaking against foundations and teaching that birthed some of the people you call master teachers. You know, you don't have no respect for lineage. You don't have respect for individuals, man. You sleep when it comes to this. And a matter of fact, I don't know who told you that Sufism wasn't Islam. Anybody that know that when you deal with Sufism, it comes from what is called Tasawwuf. Tasawwuf is a science that came from Kemet. The founder of Sufism was an Egyptian adept by the name of Dhul-Nun al-Masri. This particular one, when you go into the word Sufi, you know, it actually comes from the word asaf. This is a comedian statement, actually what the name Joseph or Yusuf derives from. That's a whole nother message. Joseph or Yusuf in the biblical text was even given the same 7th adept degree that Prophet Noble Drew Ali received, which is known as Propheta. And this is the Hierophant degree, that 7, which makes him the 7th of this era and time. But you would know that because you are still dealing with that shallow stream within your intellect, you know, tossing them little pebbles, man. Think you doing something. This guy's this guy's funny. So, man, Sufism, again, family, there are 3 different sciences when you deal with the doctrines of Islam. You have what you call Shariat, you have Tariqat, and then the Tariqat is often dealing with the Tasawwuf, you see, or Sufism. Hakikat, all of these are dealing with the doctrines and tenets of Islam. You can't have one without the other. You can't have Sufism without the Shariat, and you can't have the Shariat without Sufism. Anybody that know anything about Islam know that. Man. And you think you really kicking some science, don't you?
Okay, that's all. That's really what we say about spirituality. When you ain't got no books and you ain't got no temples and mosques. So when I looked at the history of the Ottoman Church, when they first conquered the Byzantine Empire, they were Sufis. Even though they identified them as Muslims, they were Sufis. That means they were.
You do know that the Sufis were the ones who spread Islam beyond Arabia anyway, right? You do know that those who were in northern Africa that spread Islam in Africa, across Africa, they were all, even the ones known as Moors, or those in North Africa that were Muslim, as they called them, they were of the Sufi school of thought. Now, a lot of Orthodox Muslims don't necessarily agree with that. You know, they don't agree with certain aspects of Sufism because Sufis practice a thin layer of Islam, but all the while they are demonstrating ancient Comedian teachings. But you wouldn't know that, even though your master teacher, you know, our beloved brother Cheikh Anta Diop, as you refer to him as your master teacher, he come from the Moorids. Shaking my head.
Nomads. They did not have the knowledge of architecture. They was not worshiping in mosques. They was worshiping out in the open. They was doing all type of dancing around the fire, partying, making all type of noises that the Orthodox Muslims consider heresy.
You know, the Sufis were also the ones who actually gave a lot of the so-called Hindu adepts their start as far as dealing with mystery schools and master teachings too. Rumi and Law Kalander, all these particular ones known as saints according to Sufi or Sufism, they all came from the Islamic way of life. So Islam pretty much had hand in every way in influencing a lot, even when you deal with what they call Greek philosophy, which is no such thing as a Greek philosophy or civilization. Most of the scholarship that caused their teachings to be transmitted, they were of the Sufi school of thought. They were some Arab, some were Egyptian, some African. As a matter of fact, the Arabs depicted Aristotle himself as being a Moor of darker hue. That's a whole nother measure. And he himself said his teachings came from Egypt or Kemet. Herodotus even stated that his teachings that he learned, they were taught by the priests. They didn't claim them as their own. That's something that happened in the recent time when the European of this era was trying to connect themselves back to an ancient source. So they began to claim that where they come from, the so-called Greeks. And the Greeks were the ones who brought forth a certain civilization. You know, they had the original teachings of Egyptians, when you don't know that even what they call the Greek language is really Phoenician. It's really Demotic. The Demotic language is really Coptic, or what is known as Himyar, to the Arabs, Himyaritic, also having a connection with Mudar. But you wouldn't know that, which is connected to Metanetta.
So that's just when
I told you.
Williams said
I told you I was gonna get you. I told you to stop.
They did not. The Ottoman Turks were not in no mosque, and they did not have no Quran. They were Sufis. Go do the research. So that's what it is. And so when you see that fairs came with them up out of their homeland. And the homeland that people don't even understand is not Turkey today. They migrated into Turkey. The homeland, the original homeland of the Turk is in Mongolia. Damn. Here we go. And so when you call them Sufis, that means wool. And so when you go back over there to Turkey and Mongolia and India where it's cold, you're going to see that those fairs are made out of wool. Nigga, That's why they call them Sufi. So really, the feds ain't even got shit to do with Islam. It is a cultural trait of people who come up out of Mongolia, northern India.
The feds ain't got nothing to do with Islam, but it came from the holy city of feds.
Wearing that hat has nothing to do with Islam, even though it has been adopted later on by Islam. It was later adopted by Islam. And people
the feds can be seen in Sumerian
assume that it was always a part of
inscriptions.
Islam, and it was not. It came.
The feds can be seen in a form even in Comedian inscriptions. What are you talking about?
The Russians wearing the wool fezzes. Anybody that came up out of that region wears that hat. So it's more of adopting you as property of the Turk. The Turk, more so than Islam. Okay, so you see that most of what they got on is up out of that region. The Hindu, the Turk, nigga, you niggas is all and then you say you aboriginal to the America. Okay? Now you can't be all over the goddamn place, motherfucker. You're gonna have to pick a spot. You're gonna have to, is you from Turkey? You from Mongolia? You from Arabia? Nigga, you from goddamn North Carolina? You from Mississippi? Where the fuck is you from? You claim the mounds in Mississippi.
We indigenous to the planet.
The city of Mecca. You claim you're from the land of Canaan.
We founded it all.
Went and established the Moroccan Empire in Morocco. Then your niggas was in Lumeria. Then your niggas was in Atlanta. Nigga, where the fuck is you from, nigga?
We are indigenous to the planet. Dirty Moore.
That's what I want to know. You niggas is all over the board because your man Noble Drew Ali set your bitch ass up when he put that fake information together in the first goddamn place. So when you see Noble Drew Ali right there with that hat on, that's a cultism, nigga. That ain't got nothing to do with no Islam. Motherfuckers looking off into a goddamn crystal ball telling you, nigga, that you need sovereignty and follow my way, nigga, and I'm gonna lead you down the path of success, and I'm gonna lead you to your freedom, this, that, and the third, and then you got these, follow the gypsies. Follow them. They was some of the earlier cultists in that region, and they come up out of India. I got that information. They migrated into Turkey. They migrated into Egypt. But I got the research that the gypsies come up out of India. Okay, the Turks come up out of Mongolia. So this is all of the people.
The word gypsy derives from Egypt, which is a corrupt form of Hikapta, the Coptic measure. Come on, man. You know better than that, brother. You can do better than that, brother. Stop it.
Peoples that got some form of practice that the Moore Science Temple stole from, that Madame Blavatsky stole from. Okay?
Everybody stole something.
Right there. Now, I don't, our people have our own occult practices. Okay, I'm not going to say that our people, because our people do. When you look at
now, it's occult practices. Our people got occult practices too, huh?
And you look at all, what's the other form?
You act like somebody done put some voodoo on you.
Other forms of like voodoo, and it's another couple of, now that's our occult teaching. Okay, now if you're doing it through the African occultism, I can understand that. But if you using European methods to achieve what you doing, nigga, then use a European.
We don't deal with voodoo.
I can't go hard on Christianity. Go hard on God.
Matter of fact, Noble Drew Ali asked the Moors one time, which one of y'all think y'all can do something? And that had to do something with working magic. The prophet didn't like that very much. Noble Drew Ali didn't like that very much. And beside that, the man said himself that Masons and preachers would be the last to accept his teaching. They would fight him tooth and nail, but they cannot win. He also said that he came to take the cover off of all secret organizations. So it don't get no plainer than that. But you didn't get that memo, did you, Seti? Noble Drew Ali was opposed by those who are a part of these different organizations. And if he was a part of them already, then they wouldn't have had no need to try to take over the MST of A. Every time he was opposed, it was by people that was affiliated with certain organizations. From Ahmed Suleiman Muhammad, that came from Sudan, who was not the founder of the Canaanite temple. He was actually the co-founder. His whole business was about building an organization dedicated to Mohammedan masonry, or shrindom. I got all of that. I'm the one that put a lot of that information out there to the public, which was misused and, took to a whole nother level. But if you go into certain articles, I'm the one put the one out there as well that states Suleiman was close to the prophet. And they was talking about Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I also have information showing where Suleiman met with Marcus Garvey and Deuce Ali. The meeting and everything. Reverend Dixon also opposed Prophet Noble Drew Ali in New Jersey. And then when he went to Chicago, it was Claude Green L., who was a member of the Boule, who was reporting to the Thule Society, who called himself, I guess you want to say, the stepson, godson of Rosenwald, Julius Rosenwald, so-called philanthropist. So that's a whole nother mess,
European Christianity, and all of it is European. I can't go hard on Islam. I can't go hard on these other ones and not go hard on the white man esoterical fake ass teaching. I got to go just as hard on that too. But many of what you dealing now, if you're dealing with Voodoo, you're dealing with the African, you're going the right way. But if you niggas out there, you got Aleister Crowley, who created a tarot deck. It's called the Thoth deck. He's the one that created that. Matter of fact, Aleister Crowley created the first Egyptian tarot deck in existence. He the one done that. Okay? Now, it's other people who might create one after his, but if you got that Thoth deck, Thoth deck, that's Aleister Crowley. Okay? That's Aleister Crowley. And that just show you how powerful that wicked motherfucker is, because people are using his shit and don't even know that they're using it. Okay? And if this man talking about he conjuring demons and he created this fucking deck and through the spirit of the devil talking through him, I advise you to take that motherfucker to the nearest goddamn barbecue grill and set that shit on fire. Because nigga, you don't know what you conjure when you using some of these sick motherfuckers' creations. Okay?
Boy, you a real comedian, Seti. You funny.
They'll boil tea, and then once the tea is out of the damn, they'll look inside of the tea and on the tea leaf, or they'll look at the stains that the tea leaves have left in the cup to tell you your future. You understand what I'm saying? That was one of the methods of the gypsies. Okay, so now when you see Noble Drew Ali dressed up as a fucking gypsy, as a Hindu, you know where he got it from. He did not get it from here. Okay? Because when you study the American Indians,
just told you where he got it from.
Like this. Okay, they wasn't dressing like this. They didn't have the same deities. They did not have the same deity. They had a whole different system. And then on top of that, the
Seti, you done messed up, right? I gave you a chance to stand down, but you kept on. So now, this is the time for you to basically pretty much take the fall by climbing. Because you refuse, and you still are basically insisting on being disrespectful. So now the ancestors have brought me to the manifest to sit you down. Had it not been for your many sins and your sinful ways, then I would have not been sent as a punishment to you. And I don't mean a physical punishment. I'm talking about punishing you with this wisdom. Because every time you raise your head after this, we gonna crush it with wisdom, serpent.
In America is not the original man of this land. The oldest civilization in the Americas is the Olmec, based on proper history. Okay, using architecture, using writing, the old, which are African people. Okay, this is the oldest. So you can't even, say that the Indian, which y'all call the Native American, that's a goddamn lie. He's not native to this land. He's not native to it. He's not the first man on this. And so I'm sick of motherfuckers trying to give him. He come out of Asia. But he got his own fucking culture, but he come out of Asia. He came through the Bering Straits. Our people came over here on ships. Okay? And we landed in the Yucatan. We landed in the central Mexico, which is a part of the tropical region. We didn't go up north where it was cold. We landed where it was similar to where we came from, okay? And so even when you look at this sister right here, she got this headdress on as a Hindu. She don't have it on, and let's use the so-called American Indian if you want to. You ain't never seen no goddamn American Indian worship no Rama, okay? This is the headdress of Lord Rama, which is a Hindu deity. Okay? Look at this right here. You see the headdress of these sisters? I mean the disrespect. I'm only using this as historical reference. I'm sorry, Noble Drew Ali did not tell you where he got this shit from. Maybe you did know.
No,
and
don't
you still
apologize
wanted to
now.
play the role, but you busted today.
We owned it.
That's Hindu. Has nothing to do with the so-called American Indian. So if you was aboriginal to this land, I'm asking the question, why the fuck is you got on headdress, you got on garb of a man damn near 6,000 miles from where the fuck the land you say you aboriginal to? And then you talking about Canaan. You could go right now today, you don't see no goddamn so-called people from so-called Israel, the original people, which is the Egyptians. You say the Egyptians came from Canaan, but it's actually the goddamn reverse. That what you call Canaan, because there is no land of Canaan, never was no land of Canaan, because that's a biblical term, and that the Bible is a lie. So I see you caught up there. And then you say you was a Moabite. Okay, then that means you believe in the Bible. Well, ain't no Native American got no goddamn Bible until the white man brought it over here to him. Okay, they didn't have no Bible. They worshiped nature. Okay, they did do that. They worshiped the sun. They worshiped the moon. They worshiped the animals, the zoo types, and so on and so venerated the zoo types. They did not worship no goddamn Bible. None of these continents and original people of any of these continents had the Bible until the white man showed up. Okay? So you say you the Moabite. That's biblical, nigga. And the Moabites were the children of Lot and his own daughters through incest. Okay? After the Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, the only people that's...
Okay. Now that's funny right there. You know, for one, you saying that you don't believe in the Bible. The Bible is a lie, but then you come behind that and you say that the Bible teaches of incest. And so you accept that because you feel that supports your argument and attack. So we know that this is something that's personal. I don't know what a Moorish American Muslim did to you. They might have took one of your women or something. I don't know. You know, but you real upset with the Moabites. You know, but as far as dealing with what you call incest, comedically, the same thing can be said if we look at it that way, because in the history it says that Osar and Osset was brothers and sisters. And they gave birth through their union to Heru. So it's according to how you take this special measure. You know, so I can tell that you're not studied again. You know, you're young when it comes to this right here. You think you know. And I've been sitting here watching you 10 years. You know, and I was silent. I was going to leave you alone and let you be. You know, but I got something for you and New Black Knowledge as well. You know, they included in this a special measure too. Because they like to take European articles and place that out there as the truth. You know, and accept that as if it's the law. You know, but all the while something come from your brother, then you see it in suspicion. So this lets it be known. This is what Noble Drew Ali meant when he said he was going to stop the European from thinking and start the Moors to thinking for themselves. Because you have that thought pattern. You know, you have a mentality of your oppressor. You are the wretched of the earth, like Franz Fanon spoke of. Armchair revolutionaries and pseudo scholars.
Survived the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was Lot and his family. He was told not to look back at Sodom while he fled, and his wife wanted to be a hardhead. She turned her ass and looked back, and she turned into a pillar of salt. So the only three people that was left out of Sodom and Gomorrah was Lot, who was the nephew of Abraham, and his two daughters. And they fled into the mountains. They fled into the mountains and hid in a cave. And they thought they was the only people left on the damn planet. So what they did is his daughters got him drunk. I guess when they was running up out of the fire and shit, that they saved a couple of bottles of yak. You know, I don't know where the fuck they got the wine from. But when they got up in the cave, they drunk and shit and got him drunk, and they slept with their own goddamn father. And so out of that ancestral relationship came Moab and the other son, which was Ammon. That's why I don't like using them goddamn terms from ancient Egypt, because all of that shit is plagiarized from these wicked ass crackers. So the Moabites are the children of Lot and his daughter through an ancestral relationship. So why the hell would you niggas say you was Moabites? Why would you even say some silly ass shit? Even the Canaanites were cursed by God in the Bible. So two of the motherfuckers you claim you are is cursed. And then I go back to
Canaan was cursed, not the Canaanites. Young man.
Blavatsky with her racist ass and the Aryans, and then I go back to Hitler, who adopted the Aryanism, and then I go back to the Hindus who adopted the Aryanism, created the caste system, and I see, nigga, you tricking our goddamn peoples to accept themselves as a curse. Ain't no other fucking way to get around that. Niggas ought to skin you niggas. Niggas ought to take it to you niggas.
That's funny. And the European themselves created that concept of the curse, and you gonna accept that again but reject what your brother said. One who died for what he stood on. What have you done? Have you done the works of Noble Drew Ali? Have you been on the manifest like Noble Drew Ali? You know, show me your work, Seti. Because all I hear you doing, you talk so much till your mouth, you know, get dry.
Niggas need to be knocking y'all motherfucking ass out on the spot. Ain't no nigga, let's talk about it. Fuck, let's talk about it. You is busted, nigga. If a nigga had a wire on him, and a niggas was in the street with that work, and we up in here with that work, got our bread, and all of this shit laid out, and you in here talking good talk, nigga, and we hear a voice just start talking, like what the fuck, where that voice come from, nigga? And niggas pull your motherfucking jacket open, nigga, you got a wire on you, nigga, you supposed to get dead, nigga. You in here snitching for the goddamn people, nigga, and this is what happened, nigga. I'm just using a street situation to explain what these niggas have done. These niggas been trying to snitch on us and co-opt us and get us to walk onto this ship thinking we gonna get gold, thinking we gonna get treasure, thinking we gonna get riches, and all we gonna get is some goddamn shackles on our neck, on our wrist, these niggas Turkish hats off and all this goddamn Hindu shit off his back, and see these niggas got wires on. And these niggas been letting the beast hear what we've been doing all along, tricking us. And so we got to deal with these niggas. Here we go, Lower Rama. And so you see this sister over there, no disrespect to the sister, because I don't believe she knew. I believe she following behind that silly nigga, probably respecting. He probably got the gift of gab. No.
There you go again. Disrespectful, huh? You gonna eat them words, brother. And I ain't gonna be the one to make you eat them. But you talking about a divine prophet. You see what happened to Malachi York. He spoke in similar ways, but not as disrespectful as you. You don't speak against a divine prophet like that, man, and think that the universe ain't gonna bring karma to you. You know, that's crazy. You don't honor my art. You a dope fiend.
Noble Drew Ali got the gift of gab. So many of these sisters fall for these niggas. You know, they give a little here, a little there, and she believe the nigga telling the truth, follow the nigga, and then she end up accepting it lock, stock, and barrel. And then 100 years later, here come a nigga named General Cyrus Seti telling her and her goddamn daughters and her goddamn granddaughter that she been lied to. And because you done passed it down through the generations and you believe it's so, it's hard for you to accept. Because y'all done put generational energy off into this shit. Okay? And so right there you see the number books. Foo-Foo's Dream Book. Gypsy Fortune Teller. This shit was from back in the early 1900s.
Ooh,
Let you
Richie.
know that not only was it popular,
Anywhere you see a turban or a fez,
it
huh?
was popular amongst the communities as a whole, especially the number playing community. Everybody played the number, so everybody was getting these dream books and they seen this shit. So you cannot play no goddamn game. Look at the Hindu laugh. So, you know, this nigga think he me. Look at the goddamn Hindu laughing at this nigga. A fake ass nigga trying to play like he a Hindu. Nigga, you is in the caste system, nigga, you's a fucking outcast. These niggas got on Raja and goddamn Brahmin outfits, but in the caste system, nigga, you are outcast. Now look at the feds. This is the feds up out of Turkey. This is the, and then to the right, that's Rama, a Hindu deity. To show you that the feds is from over in the Mongolian, upper India region.
That just proved what I said about the Indus Kushite Valley civilization. And you see the features on that man. And you can tell they most definitely have Afrocentricity all up in there. But you so sleep. You can't even see. Hatred. Hypnotizement with hatred.
And it had been over there for thousands of years. So Islam co-opted the faith. They co-opted the faith because many of the people out of that region end up becoming the dominant powers in the Islamic faith. But the fairs itself has nothing to do with Islam as a whole, in origin. Okay, it was a part of a whole different culture before Islam even existed. Again, looking at the fair, then you're looking at the deity Rama over in India. Okay, so it came from East Asia to Middle Asia, West Asia, and then from there, once the Ottoman Turks conquered most of the Mediterranean, Egypt up into the Sudan, all of Arabia, including Mecca, then the fairs became predominant.
Oh boy, that's funny. Boy. Now, this cat was talking about, you know, the fairs and talking about how it came from the Sufis, now it came from India, Rama. Man, you got it bad, Seti. But let this be a lesson to you and those who choose to follow the foolery that you demonstrate. You know, when it come down to being able to get up here and talk reckless, about Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The wisdom is on your behind now. So anytime you say something sideways out your neck, out your beak, know that the angel is on the manifest. We're going to get your mind right. I wish no harm to come to you, brother. I wish you well. But get your mind right, man. Demonstrate real unity. Because this is agent activity that you demonstrating up here. I don't care how you try to dress it up and make it sound and so forth and so on. And under any other circumstance, you talking about one be taking individuals out the count. No, individual be at you with the scimitar. If it was under any other circumstances. But like I say, I wish you well in everything you do. But man, stop fleecing the people with this hodgepodge of misinformation, man. Like I say, I don't know who put that in you and New Black Knowledge. And anybody else that ride with you or support that. But you can't touch this right here. And it's a lot of Moors that should be standing up for the prophet that ain't been standing up for the prophet. But I'm going to stand up for the prophet, and I want you to respond so I can unload everything that I have on the manifest over here, wisdom-wise. This is what I do. I said that I never engage, no more in debates because I know, what that has the ability to do. But trust you me, this ain't what you want. You YouTube famous, but you ain't ran up against a real Moorish American Muslim. We on the manifest, we here. Moorish movement, divine movement, everlasting movement, Islamism, Shemotepu Moorish kin, Uncle Jet Sanel. Love is on the manifest.